Iran strikes back, a region on the edge of total war. Tonight, the Middle East stands on the brink of something far larger than a simple exchange of missiles. What began as a strike has now turned into a chain reaction. Iran has launched a massive retaliatory assault, and according to early reports, the targets span across Israel, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and key American military installations throughout the Gulf region. This is no longer a localized conflict. This is regional escalation, and possibly the beginning of a broader war. Phase 1, the spark. Iran had warned the world. Tehran made it clear, if we are attacked, we will respond, and we will respond everywhere. Shortly after reported strikes on Iranian territory, allegedly conducted by Israeli forces with U.S. coordination, Iranian missiles began lighting up the skies. Within hours, explosions were reported near U.S. naval facilities in Bahrain, military bases in Kuwait, strategic installations in Qatar, sites near Abu Dhabi, and multiple locations inside Israel. Air defense systems were activated immediately. Sirens echoed across cities. Civil defense messages were sent to millions. In Qatar, a live television anchor reportedly received a missile warning alert on her phone while broadcasting. The program paused as emergency instructions told residents to seek immediate shelter. The symbolism was powerful. War was no longer theoretical. It was happening live. Target U.S. naval power. One of the most alarming claims emerging from the situation is that a major U.S. naval facility in Bahrain was directly targeted. Bahrain hosts the U.S. Fifth Fleet, a critical pillar of American power projection in the Middle East. If Iranian missiles successfully penetrated defensive layers around such a base, it represents a dramatic development. Because U.S. military bases in the Gulf are not lightly defended. They are protected by Patriot missile systems, THAAD interceptors, radar early warning networks, naval defense layers. Yet, reports suggest that some missiles were not intercepted, whether due to saturation attacks, electronic warfare, or sheer volume. The claim that defensive systems struggled to stop incoming projectiles is deeply concerning. If true, it shifts the psychological balance. At the same time, Iranian missiles reportedly struck multiple locations inside Israel. Cities including Haifa were placed on high alert. Israelis' Iron Dome, David Sling, and Arrow defense systems were activated. Some missiles were intercepted, others were not. Footage circulating shows explosions, fires, and emergency crews responding. But here's what makes this moment more complex. Israeli jets are simultaneously conducting airstrikes inside Iran. This is not one-sided retaliation. This is mutual escalation. Jets reportedly launched from various regional bases, supported by aerial refueling tankers, suggesting a coordinated and extended-range operation. The skies above the Middle East have become a battlefield. The airspace collapse. Perhaps one of the most immediate consequences of this escalation has been aviation chaos. Airspace over Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, parts of Iraq, portions of Israel has reportedly been closed. Commercial flights mid-air began diverting. Pilots turned aircraft back. Some flights rerouted towards Europe, India, and China. Passengers, unaware at first, suddenly found themselves flying through one of the most volatile airspaces on Earth. This could become one of the most dramatic aviation disruptions in recent history. When missiles are in the sky, commercial jets cannot take risks. Iran's system, not disabled. During previous escalations, Iran's defense and communication systems were reportedly disabled for extended hours. This time appears different. Iran's military infrastructure remains operational. Missiles continue launching. Air defenses are active. Command structures appear intact. This raises speculation that Iran hardened its cyber defenses, electronic warfare countermeasures were improved, Possible technological assistance may have come from allies such as Russia or China. While unconfirmed, one thing is clear: Iran was prepared. The first wave. Iran's strike is being described as the first wave, and that phrase should not be ignored, because in military doctrine, first waves are designed to test defenses, send a strategic message, measure response time, establish psychological dominance. The real concern is what comes next. If escalation continues, future targets could include U.S. aircraft carriers, expanded Israeli infrastructure, critical oil facilities, critical American corporate interests. Each step increases the risk of uncontrollable expansion. Gulf countries caught in between. The Gulf states now find themselves in a dangerous position. They host American bases, they depend on regional stability, they have complex diplomatic ties with Iran. If Iran's doctrine is to strike any country that assisted attacks against it, even indirectly, then the entire Gulf becomes vulnerable. Reports suggest some Gulf governments have privately urged the United States to halt escalation, because a prolonged conflict could devastate energy markets, shipping lanes, tourism sectors, expatriate communities. Millions of foreign workers live in the Gulf, from South Asia, Europe, Russia, Ukraine, and beyond. They never imagined a war zone would emerge around them. Leadership silence. Another alarming detail: communication with Iran's top leadership appears limited. No official confirmation regarding casualties among Iranian leadership, the condition of key military commanders, direct statements from the supreme leader. When communication lines go quiet during conflict, uncertainty multiplies, and uncertainty increases miscalculation. The Trump factor. The narration referenced earlier warnings and threats from former President Trump. Regardless of political context, rhetoric plays a powerful role in escalation. When threats are public, retaliation becomes predictable, but timing rarely is. What many believed was inevitable has now materialized. The question is, does it stop here, or does it expand? Strategic risks. If this conflict intensifies, possible outcomes include direct U.S.-Iran war, Hezbollah entering the conflict, wider regional proxy mobilization, oil supply disruption through the Strait of Hormuz, global economic shock. The Middle East is not isolated. Energy markets connected to Europe, Asia, and America. A regional war quickly becomes a global crisis. The human dimension. Beyond strategy and missiles, there are civilians, families sheltering underground, airports shutting down, workers stranded, children hearing sirens. For them, geopolitics means fear and uncertainty. Where this goes next. If Iran faces another large-scale strike, escalation toward high-value U.S. naval assets becomes plausible. If Israel expands strikes deeper into Iranian territory, Iran's response could intensify. If Gulf nations are repeatedly targeted, they may be forced to choose sides more openly. The first 24 hours of any war define its trajectory, and right now, we are still inside the opening chapter. Final analysis. This moment is not just about missiles. It is about deterrence credibility. It is about regional alliances. It is about whether defense systems can withstand saturation attacks. It is about whether escalation control still exists. The world is watching. Markets are watching. Military commanders are watching. And ordinary people, caught in the middle, are praying this does not spiral beyond control. Because once escalation passes a certain point, there is no easy return.